Good morning, friends. It is Friday, October the 28th, and forgive me for not getting in front of the camera. Believe me, both you and I will be glad that I'm not today. But I still have some canning jars. I still have a little bit over a dozen empty canning jars, and so today I feel like doing something with them, and I just thought I would share my project with you, okay? One of the things I want to do today is make bread and butter pickles, so I've got some nice little mini cucumbers that will work great. I'm hoping to get about 2 pints out of this. And onion, and I have my pickling spices. For dinner today, I want some chicken rice soup, and so I've just got 2 drumsticks and a rib, the bones from a chicken breast, and a little bit of white meat. I actually prefer the dark meat and the bones because I think they give more flavor. So that's what's in this pot, and I'm just bringing it up to the first boil, and then I'm going to skim the top and then add all the veggies and the seasonings and everything. And that's for dinner later on. And then the other thing I want to do today, I have made a couple of batches of this recipe already, and it's called a jalapeno jam recipe. And it's just wonderful. I have adapted the recipe a little bit to what I have on hand and also to my taste. But it takes tomatoes, both canned and fresh, and some freshly grated ginger, and then I will be putting some smoked peppers in there too, and I'll give you the detailed recipes later on, but I just thought I would show you what I'm up to at the beginning. So here are a couple of bowls for me to mix my ingredients with. The first thing I have to do is wash my jars, and so I'll see you as I get along a little bit, okay? At this point, I have my vegetables cut, and I'm adding the canning salt. What I have in here are cucumbers, onions. I put in a couple of cloves of garlic. I just wanted to experiment and see how carrots would turn out. So I have 1/2 of a large carrot that I cut fairly thin. And then whenever I go to the store, I always keep my eyes open for some discounted vegetables and that, and lots of times I'll find green pepper. So I bring them home, wash them, and seed them, and then I'll put them in the freezer and use them as needed. They're good for anything that you would want to cook. They wouldn't be good, fresh or raw. But I added a little bit of that just to see how it turns out. I made them big enough so that if they are not very good, I can pick them out. But okay, so now I'm just going to finish putting the rest of the salt on here, and it's canning salt. It's not just table salt. Then I will cover this with some ice and very cold water and set it aside for a couple of hours while I go ahead and start on my tomato jam. Guys, I wanted to correct something that I said a little bit earlier. It has to do with covering the cucumbers and the other vegetables with ice. I said you should also put water on it. Now, of course, that's wrong. You should only put ice on it, okay? So where I'm at right now is I have 4 medium-large Roma tomatoes that I kind of roughly seeded. There are a few seeds left in there, but once this recipe is done, it really doesn't matter. There's about 2 3/4 cups of that. Here I have a 28-ounce can of crushed tomato. Here is a generous 1/2 cup of apple cider vinegar. And here's white sugar, brown sugar. Here is a little bit of paprika. And then in the skillet here, I have a good generous 2 cups of roughly chopped onion. There are about 3 cloves of garlic. The recipe says to crush them, but I like garlic a lot, but not necessarily to bite into. But if I come across these, they're big enough that I can take them out. Here I have 1/2 of a seeded and diced jalapeno pepper. The original recipe calls for as many as 3 of them, and there's no way that I can tolerate that. Here is a tablespoon of freshly grated ginger, and my son gave me a bunch of different kinds of smoked peppers. I have no idea what this one is. I have learned to take the seeds out of it, but it just imparts a wonderful flavor, a little hint of smoke on the background. So what I'm going to do, I'll be combining all of these ingredients and putting them on the stove, and it's going to take a long time to simmer down to turn into jam, but it's well worth the wait. Alright, I've got the jam mixture on the heat and it's starting to bubble already just a little bit. The original recipe says to puree half of your tomatoes, but since I am using pureed tomatoes already, of course, you don't have to follow that. The other thing I wanted to say is this recipe is very, very flexible. Adjust the sweetness and tartness to the level that you like, okay? Just be sure to use 5% vinegar because this is going to be water bath canned in a little while when it's done. Okay guys, it is about 2:45 in the afternoon and this has been simmering for a good hour and a half. I've made a couple adjustments. I added a little bit more sugar and a little bit more vinegar. And, I just did it to my taste. This is a very flexible recipe. As you can tell, it's reduced by at least half because the ingredients were up to the rim earlier. So it takes a while, and I kind of want all the texture thick like this and around the edge here. It's just a little bit thin still. So I'm going to keep stirring it and cooking until I get it to the way that it looks good to me. One thing that would have been nice to have as I was doing this would have been a spatter screen. This skillet has a wide open surface, and I chose it on purpose to allow the steam to condense easier. But it you know how spaghetti sauce will kind of spit all over the place? So you just kind of have to wipe now and then as you work. And of course it's very important to stir it as you are simmering because something like this may have a tendency to stick to the bottom and burn a little bit. So it's a dish that you have to babysit, but it is so worth it. I've tasted it a few times and it's just delicious. Well guys, I'm done canning for the day, and what I ended up with was 2 pints of bread and butter pickles and 3 half pints. And then I got 2 half pints, well actually they're all half pints, they're all 8 ounces, but these are the tomato jam, and I really wish you could see the color. It's like a deep ruby red. It's beautiful. I have this much left over from the chicken soup that I cooked for the next day or two. That's just going to go into the refrigerator. And here's a little bit of extra of the plum jam that's going to go in the fridge too. I had some of the brine left over, and instead of throwing it away, I decided to keep it. I will strain it, and I can use it a little bit in egg salad, potato salad, just anything that I want a little tang with. And then here's my supper. It's the chicken rice soup. I wanted cabbage, and so instead of cutting it into little pieces, I cut a couple of chunks and kind of set it on top of the soup and let it cook and steam through. And that way I don't have a bunch of cabbage in the soup for when I warm it up. Sometimes it just takes, you know how it is, it takes on a bad smell and gets a little bit bitter. So anyway, that's it for the day. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any comments or criticisms, I don't mind. I'm willing to learn. And the final thing I want to say is I deliberately omitted a lot of the canning steps. I do a lot of reading for, my own safety when I can at home, but I don't think I'm qualified to teach other people. I use my ball canning book, and also there are a couple of ladies that are very knowledgeable on YouTube. Linda's Pantry is one of them, and Noreen's Kitchen. I also really enjoy the Mrs. Wolfie from our Half Acre Homestead. And then I also love to watch Jane All Zero. So anyway, that's it for the day, and I will see you soon, okay?